special thanks to EA for being the sponsors of today's video. Yes people, how are we all doing? It's your boy Ashton here. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I think it's fair to say that Apex Legends Season 8 has been a bit of a wild one. We've seen a load of new changes come into the game this season, as well as a bunch of new LTMs, and of course with that, a whole load of new players. So with that in mind, in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys on how you can improve for Apex Legends Season 8. If you do enjoy today's video, or if you learned something new, then do drop it a like and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content. I really appreciate you guys. So the first tip I have for you guys is just a general game tip, and it can be applied to any situation at all. It just kind of revolves around how you approach the way you play the game in general. And so my first tip of today's video is to be your own leader and to not follow people around. So what do I mean by that? Well, obviously that doesn't mean just run away from your team and do your own thing. But what I mean to say is think for yourself about what you're doing and where you want to go and how you want to approach a fight. You need to learn how to assess situations yourself rather than just going off of what your teammates think. Whether or not you're solo queuing or if you're playing with your friends, this is equally important both ways. If you're playing with friends, then you can counter call them if they make a bad call out or a bad decision to push a team, if you know there's a third party coming, or if you're just a little bit more cautious than they are. Ultimately, your teammates are only ever going to go off of what they know and what they see. You may know more or see more than they do, which in the end can drastically change the outcome of a fight. Next up, let's talk about recoil control. Now fortunately enough for you guys, recoil control is super easy on Apex Legends once you've learnt the different recoil patterns of every gun in the game. Obviously this isn't going to come quick for new players, but as you play the game more and more, you will start to learn the different recoil patterns of different weapons as you use them more. But what lots of people don't realise is there is a shortcut method on how to learn any recoil pattern in the game instantly. All you have to do is go into the firing range and pick up any weapon of your choice. Then once you've got that weapon, make sure in your settings that you've got impact marks turned on. Go ahead and walk back to around this distance here and shoot directly into the wall. If you then go ahead and take a screenshot or a clip, or if you just take a picture on your phone and turn the picture upside down, that is the exact recoil control pattern that you need to put into your stick if you want perfect recoil on that weapon. It's that simple. Now does that mean you have to do that exact pattern every single time you shoot the gun? No. You can usually pretty much generalize it in that general direction and you'll more than likely be alright. A few bullets may go stray here or there, but for the most part you're going to have really good accuracy. Obviously you're still going to need to practice your recoil control on these guns, but this is a really good visualizer on the kind of ways in which you need to control the recoil on the stick or on your mouse, depending on which platform you're on. And what it also tells us is that recoil control is not always just directly downwards, sometimes it has to be a little bit off to the left or right. For tip number 3, I'm going to keep this one really easy for you guys. Like, just don't be weird. Like, whether or not you're a caustic in a cave, I still see everything. Or if you're a bloodhound in a bin, it's actually crazy how many people are just weird on this game. They play really weird. Just trust me when I say you're going to have a way better time of things if you just stay with your team, shoot your enemies, and fight people. It's really that simple. You don't have to be crawling up in the mountaintops or doing anything weird like that. I actually think my next tip is one of the most important tips that any player can learn how to do quickly in order to become a better player, and for me, learning how to loot quick is one of the most important things you can do in this game. There are so many players out there who I see who are absolutely determined to get their 2K badge for the first time, or to get more than 5 kills in a game, and for those of you, I say, you need to learn how to loot quicker in order to progress your game a lot faster. To put it plainly, good players do not take a long time looting, it's that simple. Obviously, when you're off the drop, you are going to take a little bit longer to go around and make sure that you have a decent amount of weapons and ammo and heals, but when it comes to in-game, you need to learn where these items are in the death box and which items that you are in need of, rather than going around and looting every single death box all the way up and down, making sure that you don't miss an item. It's really not that important. Learning how to use every single weapon is important for this reason, because it means you're not going to be spending all of your time in death boxes finding the one gun that you're actually good with. And people vastly underestimate the amount of work that you can do with low tier loot in this game as it is. That doesn't mean you should keep low tier loot if you have better tier loot available to you, but don't underestimate yourself on what you can achieve with that loot. In order to get those high damage and high kill games, you need to be running around and fighting as much as possible, and if you have enough loot to do that, then you definitely should be. All I'm saying is you don't get better at fighting in this game just by having the best loot. Now, whilst we're on the topic of fighting, you need to learn when is the time to run from a fight and when is the time to face your enemies and do as much damage as you possibly can. Now, let's picture this scenario here. You've just wiped a team and you've been scanned from a bloodhound before you've even had the chance to loot up. Yeah, I know, pretty common scenario in Apex. In this scenario, you have two options: stand and fight or run away. Both of those options are viable, but you have to time them absolutely perfectly. If you hear the sound of footsteps or if you've been scanned from a close distance, you need to run instantly. Now, I mean instantly, because every second counts in this scenario. Now, more often than not, the more valuable option to choose is actually to stand and fight, and that may mean you going down. In this scenario, you're just looking to deal as much damage as possible before you get knocked, so your teammates have an easier job of cleaning up. You may even surprise yourself and get a knock, which makes your team's job a hell of a lot easier. I've seen way too many teammates running away from a fight that they're just never going to get away from, or running away when they have a perfect opportunity to put some damage into their enemies, and this is definitely not the way to approach this situation. A prime example here is of this Pathfinder who just decides to grapple off the map when he definitely could have used his cover to peek me whilst I'm running out in the open. However, that being said, Pathfinder is one of those characters that does have an ability that allows him to get away from those situations, which brings me on to my next point. It's super important that you guys are playing to your Legend's strengths. Believe it or not, Apex Legends is a team-based game. Now, I know you solo queue warriors are out there shaking your heads right now, but it's the truth. Certain Legends are way more suited to playing around the team rather than for themselves, and often when they're caught out on their own or not playing their position very well, they are gonna get punished. Often players are getting very mistaken for Legends being bad or underpowered when actually they're just not playing them right. For example, a Gibraltar is most valuable to their team when they're in the middle of both of their teammates. Being able to throw down the bubble, the airstrike, and have the quick revive in the bubble is super important to the team, and trying to take down a Gibraltar team when they're playing as a unit is really difficult. Another example is of course Caustic, who is more suited to playing inside buildings and tight spaces rather than out in the open. That's not to say Caustic isn't effective in the open, but he's definitely at his strongest inside buildings. Playing off your environment in Apex is one of the most important skills that you can learn in the game. For example, playing off your enemy's Gibraltar bubble to bubble dance with them, or to take an enemy Revenant totem to push them in the back. These are all things that can improve you as a player and can improve your quick thinking, which is vital in order to be good at this game. Now lastly, I want to talk about re-peeking your enemies after you've taken damage. Oftentimes in Apex you'll be holding a really nice angle or piece of cover, and an enemy comes up and puts the first amount of damage into you, forcing you to take cover. Most people's first reaction would be to pop a heal in this situation, but a really effective counterplay is actually just to instantly re-peek them when they're not expecting it. A lot of enemies won't expect you to re-peek after you've been dealt a lot of damage, and so will run at you straight after they've dealt that damage, as of course they'll be expecting you to be healing behind that cover, and when you re-peek them they'll be exposed and open to you to fire on them freely. I can't tell you how many times I've been caught on the re-peek when I think an enemy is too damaged to be shooting back at me, but they re-peek me when I really think they should be healing and I actually get knocked from it. So to quickly recap on today's tips, I said to be your own leader, learn to assess situations yourself, play in a way which suits your legends and their abilities, don't spend all game looting and learn how to loot faster, don't turn your back in a bad situation and learn when running is not an option, learning how to re-peek, recoil control, and of course, the most important one, don't be weird. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tips and are able to implement them into your game to improve as a player over the course of Season 8. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content. As I said, I really appreciate your guys' support. But until next time guys, it's been your boy Ashton and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy and goodbye.